test scripts I made.
Live streaming is on.
Oh my goodness.
There you go.
Well
okay,
then.
so we're good now. You can take it away, Jim.
Okay. Does everyone understand what a terminal is?
Yep.
Okay. What I've been doing with this module is it's a lot of ncurses features. Curses have been around for a long time. And really what I had was a lot of tools I had to write that were terminal based. You know, I've got a project management, invoice management, all these little modules I needed. And I didn't feel like ncurses was quite the right way to go. It started with echo. The first function was echo. So basically, I replaced all my print calls with the echo function that I wrote. In the past, it has gained a lot of features, like, for example, word wrap, which I can, let's see. Okay. So you can see a number of paragraphs, you know, a few paragraphs here.
Yeah.
And if I show you the code, it's and the way to get the carriage returns is with the F6 command right here. I was able to apply this with well, Project Flow, a game called Empire, which you might remember from the BBS days, that I ported to my code. It works pretty well. That's word wrap. Uh-oh. Okay. Echo has some keyword arguments, like you can tell it not to interpret commands. For example, you can see that F6 it actually uses curly braces, which all the commands do. And this can be a problem if you are outputting a dictionary, which also uses curly braces. So I needed a flag to turn off the interpret of the commands within the braces. You can also turn off word wrap. For some things I was doing, like where I had, you know, characters or content right to the edge of the screen, if I allow word wrap, then it wouldn't look right. So I added a flag that turns off word wrap. Another keyword argument to echo is end, which is basically passed straight through to the print function of Python. That's so I can have more than one call to echo and have the output on the same line of the screen. Interpret MCI is what handles commands in curly braces. I did a lot of research into the possibilities with ANSI. Turns out there's a lot that can be done. I added the ability to handle colors, which currently uses the Commodore 64 palette, because with modern terminals like what do they call it, VTE, you actually can specify RGB values for your colors. So I found a site on the web that gave the RGB values for all the Commodore 64 colors, and I started using those instead of the ANSI colors, which are a little duller. They're not quite as bright. ANSI also allows for things like cursor movement, you know, home, clear screen, different kinds of, being able to erase the line of the screen in different ways. That's all come in handy. There's the handling of the alternative character set, which I believe started in VT102 a few years ago. That's for drawing boxes and lines, and there's certain characters it has, but it's not quite as extensive as IBM's extended ASCII, which has things like certain kind of graphics characters and heart, spade, club, diamond, as characters, which would be handy for card games, I guess. There is a way to set a top and bottom margin, and uh-oh. I'll show that. This is going to do a series of die rolls, but with a top and bottom margin set. And also a progress bar that I made as a widget. Progress bar is inspired by what Ubuntu does with apt. It can be handy for certain kinds of situations. Let's see, talk about that. This is a feature that, variables are a feature that I added and tested, but I don't use it anywhere. And the idea was that I have a function that handles a menu, and it prints kind of a box with a shadow with certain colors like as a skin, and I wanted a way to change those colors at runtime without having to go through all my echoes and update them, and hard code it. So the feature is there, but I don't use it for anything yet. Covered that. Okay. Get.ch is an interesting function with also, as it turns out, a pretty serious bug. The idea is to get one character, kind of like, I think Windows has a get.ch function. And over time I've added handling of certain ANSI sequences like cursor up, cursor down, home, end, all that. And the bug there is that you can't just hit escape and have my function handle it properly. And if you hit a function key that isn't in this internal table that I've got, then it doesn't lock up, but it stops working properly. Kind of a flaw that I need to fix fairly soon. But it does function to get one character at a time. It uses select, which makes it asynchronous. I am fairly happy with it other than the bug I mentioned. It does pretty well. It seems to be responsive and everything. One thing I noticed in using libreadline is that if I have an exception in some of my code that happens to be used as a callback, then libreadline will silently ignore it. And this caused me some grief because I didn't know what was going on. But it has been documented. Once I was able to, do a search and read up on it, it's well known. But I find it a pain in the butt. And so get.ch is slowly helping me replace the use of libreadline. Not quite there yet. A few things I still need to write, like can't do tab completion. But it's getting there. Let's see. Another function I have is input char, which kind of lets you do a one character, prompt. but you don't have to hit enter because it calls getch. So you might have actually a good example of input char is input boolean, which is down here, and you can limit the characters you want to accept as your single input. You can also specify a default value. This seems to work pretty well in a lot of situations. One of them is input boolean, where you restrict to tfyn by default. So I have less work to do when I'm writing something. There is an input integer, which only accepts. You can see the mask here. Only accepts an integer, with an optional plus or minus at the beginning. Let's see, I might have a deal like that. Okay, so it accepts. It has a default value, so I can change that. And let's say I want a A, B, C, D, E. Okay, it doesn't like that. Goes back and prompts again. It won't exit this loop until it gets an actual integer. Oof. Okay. Detect ANSI does its best to figure out if you're running in an ANSI-enabled terminal. I've done no testing of this on a terminal which doesn't do ANSI. I'm not even sure that I can find one. But it seems to work pretty well. I use it in a couple applications I've written. Okay. There's a get terminal width, a get terminal height, and a get terminal size. Get terminal width is special because it actually uses there's a command in term info called tput. And I needed to do that instead of Python's built in because when it's in a pipe, it doesn't. There's no terminal attached to it, so it crashes. So I needed my get terminal width to work regardless of being used in a pipe, and that's how I ended up on using tput and requesting calls. Terminal height and terminal size both call os.getTerminalSize. Normally it returns that function returns a tuple of row, column. So for height, I just return, lines and columns. For get terminal height, I return res.lines. For get terminal size, I return the entire tuple, which is columns, lines. And get terminal width, as I said, is using term info, because that proved more reliable. There's another function called xtname, which is a sequence that sets the xterminal title to whatever you want, pretty much. I use that every day. My shell prompt basically calls xtname with my username and host name, so I can tell what machine I'm on. It's quite reliable and probably has been around for, a while. Let's see, detect ANSI. Oops. Okay. And most recently is get cursor position, which returns a tuple of row and column. So that's so that I can have a Python script that looks at its current cursor position and needs to, move the cursor down X number of times. So for that, I need to be able to tell what the current position is. I believe I've used that. Well, I don't think I've used it in production yet. All right, that's really what I have today. I would appreciate some feedback.
All right, cool.
No
Thank you, Jam. That
problem.
was it was really reminiscent of my early days in college,
Yeah.
having to deal with you know terminals. I actually wrote a
hmm
game.
We might actually be about the same age then,
Yeah,
because when I first got to college, we had BT 102s in the computer lab.
I think that's what I had.
So we're right around what, early 90s.
I'm 80s, so
Okay,
yeah,
so like late 80s, early 90s, somewhere in
80s,
there.
yeah, 86, 87,
Mm-hmm.
88.
Okay. Yeah,
So
I didn't
yeah.
go to an especially large college, so we just had equipment that, well, it works.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yep.
we didn't have fancy X11 terminals like the college up the street. Um, so it sounds about right.
I actually wrote a game called uh, well, it was a copy of an old text-based terminal game called Artillery. And
Okay.
I wrote it in Pascal and was able to distribute it as a with the Pascal compiler on a 400K floppy disk.
Hmm. Those were the days. Yeah.
Yeah,
There you go. Yeah. Good one. Good one.
that was tough. It was tough getting all that on one 400K floppy disk.
Yeah.
But I
Well,
could see how I could use your program here with that, that get position
mhm.
argument to write, the same game in
Yeah. I could
the
show
crucible.
the. Let's see. One thing I didn't talk about was the parser or the tokenizer that I have.
Mm-hmm.
All kinds of regular expressions. There's actually so many now, and the way it does it, it's kind of getting slow. I need to do something about it. Um, but yeah, pretty much what I needed, I would just add what I needed. So
Yeah.
yeah, this code is a lot of fun. I do intend it to be open source forever.
Is it on GitHub now?
It's on GitHub, but it actually might be public. So hold on, let me. Um, I'm kind of waffling about if I should stick with GPL.
Yeah.
Because I've noticed they made some changes that seem to benefit corporations more than like the open source. And I don't know if that's accurate or if it's been changed, and I worry.
Which GPL are you talking about? 2 or 3?
Well, originally it was LGPL.
Right.
So my understanding, maybe I'm wrong, is that lately GPL version 3 has kind of absorbed LGPL. So they
Um,
don't have a lesser anymore. They have version 3, which is it kind of merges the two.
well, if there's a lot of existing code out there version under the GPL,
Mm-hmm.
that's still under GPL 2.
Right.
Um, so that that in fact, I think Linux is still GPL 2. Um,
Yeah, and I think I remember a video where Linus was being interviewed, and they asked about that, and he said, "Well, the later versions of GPL are benefit the corporations more. Where they don't have to submit patches to me."
oh,
And he
okay.
wanted to pick a license that would encourage corporations who make changes to submit them back to him for incorporation.
Right.
And that's
Okay.
really what I want. You know,
Yeah.
um, this is a really low-level tool. Lots of fun things can be done with it. I've got material for talks, um, and I want it to be open source, but I don't want to feel like someone's going to rip me off.
Yeah.
because they're taking advantage of the license in some clause or something that says well, if I don't make any releases, I don't have to submit any patches. It just that kind of thing bugs me.
Yeah.
And so I have to choose the license very carefully.
Well, there's
So
a guy. There's a guy that's a part of this group named Jim Salter that has done a lot of talks about open source licenses
Mm-hmm.
and why you should do them, sooner and not later.
Mm-hmm.
So you should be able to find a good number of YouTube videos about Jim talking um, about those licenses, and he's actually got a podcast now called 2.5 Admins that's got is getting pretty popular among admins.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I would check out Jim Salter's videos on. Maybe I can find it for you.
Okay,
Maybe
appreciate it.
something else we can see tonight.
Yeah, another project I have is BBS Engine, and that builds on top of ttyio, and I'm writing a classic terminal interface BBS and trying to merge it or integrate it as much as possible with my website, which has been fun. It's getting there. So,
Okay.
I figure,
You can show it now if you want, or we can save it for later.
well, I posted the URL to GitHub in the chat. Let's see. I don't really have anything worked out for talking about BBS Engine. I guess I can show some of the code and. Yeah, there's quite a lot of function here. Well, I can show an example of, I'll show you Empire, which is a combination of ttyio and BBS Engine. BBS Engine does things like loading and saving users. It eventually it'll accept passwords and probably SSH keys for authentication.
Right.
Oops, I got a bug. Poof. Okay, so this is an example of using the bottom bar.
Mm-hmm.
More bugs. I haven't worked on this in a while. I don't know where I'm. Oh boy. I do my best to like live debug and things, but it doesn't always work out.
Yeah.
Let me just not worry about Empire for a moment. What else have I written? Well, one that uses ttyio, but not so much BBS Engine is Project Flow.
Okay.
I use this on a daily basis. It's in production. It's got all kinds of things in this database. So this is the primary tool, which is the update tool. It can call out to my invoice system. Really, the important feature of ProjUp is you can see the next action time and the next action text, right?
Yeah.
And there's another tool called Projmon that displays the projects sorted by the next action time. So you could be in a situation, in operations, you could, have everyone run the Projmon tool, and they can all see the projects in kind of order of when the next action is, and if it's expired or not, if it's gone past that time.
Oh, okay.
I would run that, except it's got a lot of personal stuff in this database, so probably shouldn't.
Yeah. Okay.
But let's see. I know what I did. So project is an example of a tool that doesn't really use BBS engine. Because when I wrote project originally, BBS engine didn't exist, at least not in the Python version. I also have a tool for looking up phone numbers and passwords.
Okay.
And what happens there is that I made an index in Postgres that looks for a line beginning with PW:space, and then so it can find those lines very quickly. And for PHO, for phone numbers, it's the same thing. And then you run PW, which I'm not going to do, but MGH. Okay, so I can very quickly search through all the diary entries for lines that begin PHO:. And I've got a bunch of diary entries over the years. So this is a very handy day-to-day also. And there's rproj. Well, nope. Okay, I'll stop that. So there's quite a few tools here. Maybe I can fix this real quick. Maybe not. Okay. I thought I fixed this.
This is crap. What's that? No.
That's an interesting bug. Get right and tell them to turn it on. Oh boy. I thought I fixed this.
This is written in Bash.
What's that?
Is this written in Bash?
This is Python.
Oh, Python. Okay.
Yeah. I know just enough Bash to get certain things done, but I'm no expert. It's Empire is Python with BBS engine and ttyio.
Okay.
This game is something I played back in high school on my BBS, and somebody very generously shared with me his work on the variables and so on as part of the image BBS version of Empire. There's a ton of variables. They're not all consistent. Empire is a game that's existed since, well, I'd say early 80s probably.
Yeah.
And yeah, he was very generous and allowed me to use his work. And it's been almost a year that I've been working on Python on our Empire. It's going to be August. I think it's 1 year, maybe July. And it's actually quite fun to play when it works. Okay, the trouble here is okay. What on earth? I'm looking at my own code, and this function should never return none. Yet it somehow does. That's the traceback. That's the exception I'm getting. Right, where the... Right here.
Were you closing off that data structure?
No, it's a get rank title is a function that should return a string. It's right here, and I don't see anywhere that it can return none.
I'm looking at the end of that definition. I don't know Python at all. Is that a legal way to end a definition?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I was looking for a semicolon or something.
No, Python doesn't really use semicolons. It heavily depends on white space.
Yeah.
To know blocks and things. So yeah.
Maybe you got a tab instead of a space or something.
Well, let's see. The only thing I can think of is no, it does pass args. Oh my heavens. How about this? Huh. That should help. Rank equals 0. Okay. It should have... What on earth? Okay. Can you say attempting to live debug?
So I was wondering, is this Empire game? Was this like a MUD or was this like something you play over BBS?
Somebody played over BBS. Different, BBS software had different names. It was called a P file in image BBS. Sometimes called a door in the PC world.
I guess those were a little before my time. I remember playing a few MUDs, but multi-user domains.
Yeah.
You logged in with a terminal.
Mm-hmm.
I guess they were similar.
Yeah, I played a lot of MUDs in my day too. Once I discovered MUDs, let's just say my BBS was down more often than not because I was dialed into the university to have internet access. This is before it went public, before the internet was commercial. You had to have the right connections to get on. And back in those days, Microsoft didn't have TCP/IP, so yeah, I don't like Microsoft much. So yes, I played quite a few mods actually. I really enjoyed them. Even tried to run my own for a while. It turned out that the driver I wanted to use was called MudOS, and it leaked memory like a sieve. And so you really had to, keep an eye on it. And I never really went production. I had a buddy at the time who was a bit more skilled than me, by definition, and quite talented. And he said, Jam, the only way to run this in production is to basically rewrite it because it leaks memory. And I went, oh, great. So I never really had a mudded production, but I certainly, thought about it and planned it, and I think if I were to do it today, and with BBS Engine, it's certainly possible. If I were to do it today, I think it would be, quite fun to use. Probably Python. I would write as little C as possible. Yeah, sorry. Okay. Why? Okay, wait. Rank equals 0, which actually is an integer. Okay. Wow. I don't see it. One thing I do a lot in Empire that I'm kind of proud of is I can handle plurals correctly. So if you have 40,000 bushels, it'll say bushels with the S.
Yeah.
And if you only have one bushel, it'll say one bushel. and also all my numbers that are output are using locale, which means it has a proper comma, at the 1,000 mark.
Yeah.
Which it's a minor point. I am a little pedantic, I guess, but I felt that it kind of added to the value of the game.
Yeah.
Where you don't have all these strings that are, tons with S in parentheses because no one's written the code to actually handle it.
Right.
It's not
like
that
a
bad.
Steve Jobs touch.
What's that?
It's like a Steve Jobs touch. Like
there you go. Yeah, one of those details. Yeah.
Make it a little more human.
Yes. A little more grammatically correct.
Mm-hmm.
And I made it so it's basically handled automatically. It's not. When I output certain things, I wish I could show this game. It's actually pretty good.
Are you defining rank at a global level or inside function or what?
I'm sorry?
Um, well, it's. Are you defining rank as a global or inside or a local inside the
Um,
function?
Good question. It's actually passes an argument right here.
Right. Yeah.
So it's not a global at all. No. I try to avoid globals as much as possible.
Yeah. Right.
Just my old school,
Mm-hmm.
C background, I guess. It's considered a no-no to have globals.
Right.
I do use them on occasion.
So if the rank was 0, how come it shouldn't it come out as Lord?
Yes, which is what is so odd.
And it didn't.
Yeah, it doesn't. It comes up, it returns none somehow, which is impossible.
Get rank
I
status.
just don't see it. Um,
Are you passing the right number of arguments?
yes. If I was not, then Python would give me an exception
Okay.
and tell me that I didn't give the right number of arguments. So,
Is it a typecast error?
uh, well, I thought of that, and that's why I added this echo.
That's my main issue with Python. I gotta change that to something else.
Well, here I can actually improve things a little bit. Yeah. With the %R in echo, that gives a representation of the variable. So if it was the wrong type, like for example, it was a string of like a single character, then when I do this echo here, it would actually put quotes around the value if it was a string. And that doesn't happen. It looks like it's an integer. I don't see it. There's only one call to get rank title. So it's not like I'm. Oh, wait. Maybe, hold up. Maybe it's not rank that's the problem. You notice I'm calling title twice, right? Try that. Hmm. Uh,
Player name equals none. Um, is this an initialization problem? Do
oh,
you need to
player.
set it?
Okay, yeah, you're right. That's it. Okay, I didn't see it. Yes, player.name being none is a problem because I also on this line that's crashing, I have a call to player.name.title. So obviously player.rank is okay because we know it's 0, and now I know that player.name is equal to none, which is the problem. So just narrowed it down quite a bit. Thank you. Okay, so player.name is none somehow. Okay. New player. Hmm. Okay, this is strange. Player.new. Okay. New player name, Jones. Player.new.120, player name equals none. There's my bug. Um,
If you reference a whole structure like that, won't it just take the first element of the structure?
Player name is a string. If I were to put a %R and then reference an entire structure, then yes.
Okay. Because I noticed that your first value in that structure was none, and that's what you're getting.
Well, yeah, what's happening is it's a new player that is not getting initialized correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've narrowed it down now. Okay, the player name is wrong. The player name is what's none, not the rank. That was where I had to get, that's what I had to figure out.
Yeah, okay.
Did y'all see that post that I made on the group for the pcjs.org? Is you can run these old PC emulators in JavaScript in your browser.
Oh, really?
Yeah, then there is a few VT terminals you can run. It was kind of interesting.
Okay.
You can run all different types of versions of DOS.
Yeah.
What else was on there? They had some PDPs on there, PDP 11s and PDP 8, and then there was a couple of old calculators you could run the chips in emulation.
Nice.
You can do everything up to about Windows 95. It was pretty interesting.
Cool.
It's called pcjs.org. Yeah, there's a lot of these old games and stuff. They had Zork.
Yeah.
They had Zork, a lot of the old text emulators and stuff in there. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, a buddy of mine sent me a link one time. I think it was last summer, where it was like a mud, but it used your input to determine the output. It was like AI.
Oh.
Which I guess works, but that means there's no real, well, it wasn't obvious whether or not there's, any coder that's like, writing a story, right? Like for a mud. It just seemed like you could type whatever you wanted, and based on that, it would change the story.
Right.
Maybe there's some puzzle in there, some code in there, but not too sure about that.
All right, so for the new player, let's go through this Python code.
Right.
You're setting an area called new player. And let's see, you're just calling this player self, or is that a Python reserve word?
Self is equal to this. So that means that the new function is a part of an object called player. I've got a bunch of, edit, remove, there's an init, a constructor.
Yeah. Okay.
So when you see self in Python, it means the same thing as this in like C++.
Yeah. Okay.
And probably Java.
Right.
Let's see.
For A in self attributes,
Uh-huh.
you're defining
You wanna see what-
attributes.
Do you want to see what that looks like? It's a dictionary.
Yeah.
Actually, it's a sequence of, hold on. Here. So it's a sequence of dictionaries, which is like an array of structures.
Yeah. Okay.
Defaults, prices, plural and singular for each thing.
All right. And the last line of that self attributes,
Uh-huh.
you got types going all the way down, and then but then the last line is a name.
This one.
Yeah.
Right, it's a. Ooh. Well, okay, I see what
Why
I did.
isn't it a type?
Okay, what happened was, watch, I'll fix it. Hold up. Because in Python, it doesn't matter what order you define the dictionary in,
Yeah.
right? So here, if I make it line up, there. Now it's consistent.
Oh, okay. Default none. All right.
Yeah.
All right. The first line says type name.
Right, up here, yeah.
That looks different from all the others? It's a name. Name
Yes,
instead of an int?
here, I'll show you what I'm up to there. I gotta remember, hold up. Okay. I think what happens is, I've got some code that lets you edit each of these attributes. Let's see. Okay, edit.
Yeah.
Okay, so what happens is it looks at the type and calls a different input function based on what the type is.
Right.
And it defaults to int because that's what the majority of the attributes are. So
Okay.
Input integer, input char, decision has an input date. Okay, starting to think about why player.name is none. Why?
When is the first time you call that function,
Which?
the new player function?
Oh, new?
Yeah.
Here. Yeah,
Okay,
this
so
one-
right after that, can we echo what the player name is?
Okay. Well, yeah, player.name. Okay, a new player, player.name is none, even though I prompt for it. Right here. What on earth? Um,
Mystery deepens.
yeah.
Maybe you're prompting for it and not reading it.
The only thing I can think of is that well, I'm prompting for it, and I believe I'm using it correctly.
Were you typing in Jones, or was the computer giving it to you?
That was the default
That's the default.
because I have a database record that that defines that handle. Um, okay. Okay, what I have here is self.name equals player.name. This should work,
No, you got player. You got self.name equals player name.
right?
No, there's no dot in there.
Oh, sorry. Oh, you're right. You're right. I have self.name equals player name.
But you've defined it up above, so it should be okay.
Right. I define it here.
Yeah.
Um,
What does the verify do?
let's see.
Verify equals verified player name not found.
Right. Here, I'll show you. If the player name does not exist, it returns false. Otherwise, true.
Okay.
Yeah, I moved to that with input string because I wanted to have callbacks without having to, re-enter the loop, I guess. I wanted to have a function that could return true or false, and input string would stay within its loop.
Right.
Okay, I have state of 2. player name found and player name not found. Though, okay, they are different. Oh, man. Why is it none? Okay. Supposing I approach this a little bit differently. Okay. Ah. Perhaps this will work better.
Yeah, I know Python a little bit, but y'all are
A little bit.
you're way over my head.
Well, this is not something I'm good at. Is live debugging. I did make some progress on this though. I mean, now I know it's player.name that's not right instead of rank. So that should help me figure it out.
Yeah. Okay, Dan. We'll let you hammer on that in the background. Does anybody else on the call have something they want to show us before we in the meeting?
I think it's just me, you, and Dan. I'm good.
Okay.
Been doing 3D printing stuff lately. If anyone wants to see that,
Oh yeah.
Cool.
yeah.
What do you tell us about that?
I have a couple of 3D printers. And yeah,
Okay.
Can you show objects that you printed?
I don't know if I want to.
Okay.
It's kind of a strange story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Well, we're coming up on the end of the hour anyway, so it's about getting time to close it off. So we got Southeast Linux Fest coming up on Friday. That'll be fun. I haven't registered yet, but I'm sure they're still taking.
I don't even think you got to register. You just got to sign up, or yeah,
Just show up.
Just show up, log on. That's the way it was last year.
What kind of streaming software are they using?
I don't remember. I don't remember what they used last year, but it worked. I don't think it was Jitsi. It may have been something new. I think they were doing something on their end and then restreaming it because there was a bit of a lag between what you were seeing and the chat that was going on.
I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah. So it was interesting, but it did work pretty good. I do prefer it in person more than
yeah, I missed that
virtual thing. But I guess it was okay.
Yeah.
For what it is.
Is that the SC Linux Fest?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could you put something on a mailing list that gives me the URL and everything? I'll do my best to join.
Yeah, sure. It's just here. I'll just type the URL in the chat. The Southeast Linux Fest org, I think.
Okay.
Just like that. And it might be. Yeah, there it is. That's it. It's HTTPS actually. So, but it redirects to the secure site. June 11 to 13, 2021. Yep. Good stuff.
Yeah, I would go look up the schedule, but for some reason, trying to switch tabs in the new Firefox, I don't know why it's not working right.
Ooh.
New.
Well, I have been working on my quest to discover the root of a memory leak in Thunderbird, Firefox, and Chrome.
Oh yeah, you mentioned that last time. I
Yeah.
thought it was just Firefox, but you.
Well, I thought so too, but no, Chrome also has a problem, and so does Thunderbird.
Well, that would kind of imply a JavaScript library.
Sorry?
That would imply some JavaScript code that they're all sharing, I guess.
Yeah, that's all I can think of that's common. Because Chrome and Firefox are legally required to be different.
Yeah.
Right, as far as the code and everything with libraries and all that, because there's a big lawsuit. And now it's Thunderbird too. So, I think a new south next.
Yeah, I like the new look of the new Firefox, but I don't know. It has some few bugs. It keeps locking up on me a few times. And
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I've had problems with Firefox stalling on certain cable channels, right, my provider. And I switched to Chrome because that's what support said I should do, and that has the problem also. You know, it just takes a few hours and glances like lights up with memory consumption. So.
Yeah, mostly when my Firefox locks up, it's streaming video.
Right. Yeah. Well, it could be that, but it locks. It has problems with not only video, but just a generic website that doesn't seem to be doing anything special. You know, just JavaScript.
Yeah, but
and the memory consumption goes through the roof after a few hours. And if I don't kill the tab, then it'll crash my computer.
I also have about 25 tabs open too, so that.
Yeah. Well, I have a lot of tabs too, but that doesn't seem to be the cause of it. You know, it's like, nah, there's something going on here. Wasn't there a big news story about some kids at a university? They wrote a paper about inserting malicious software in open source.
Yeah.
Oh yes. Yeah.
University of Michigan.
No, it wasn't Michigan. It was
Minnesota.
Yeah, Minnesota.
Okay.
They got the whole university banned from contributing to the Linux kernel.
Right. Well, what happens if they contribute to more projects in the kernel? You know, like Thunderbird or, you know, well, not really Chrome, right? But still.
Well,
There was
Linux doesn't control those.
one recently. They were putting. It was weird. They had found some internal code that people were using internal libraries on, like Zoom, not Zoom,
Right.
Microsoft. What is Microsoft's teleconferencing thing? Yeah,
Teams.
Skype. So they had found some code in Skype that they had referenced, and it was referencing some internal libraries. Well, they registered those libraries, and like Python will look apparently online before it looks at your internal libraries. So people were putting fake stuff up, and yeah, it was pulling from those, and that was kind of an interesting hack.
Python does not. They will not load a URL as a module. I don't know of any. I don't know of any way to do that in Python.
No, it's the libraries. They were attacking the libraries. So
Oh, okay.
it would pull from the the online source before it would pull from your local source was the problem.
Wow. Well, maybe pip or something.
Yeah, it was using pip.
Okay, that's different. Okay, I got it. Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
Does anybody use?
Yeah. So in other
Purple?
words, they made some malicious patches to software available from pip, and people install it and try to use it, and wow, that makes me mad.
Yeah.
Yeah, because and npm is terrible. I don't know if you've ever used any Java, the npm JavaScript thing. That is, oh man, it is. Oh,
You're talking about terrible as in security?
yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you there. It just goes out and gets whatever it can find.
Well, so my thought is, well, maybe that kind of thing happened to Thunderbird. These open source projects, yeah, they were banned from, the entire campus is banned from submitting to Linux kernel, but what else did they do?
Well, yeah, I mean, and that's what Greg Hartman said. Now we got to go back and undo every single change that your university has ever submitted.
Right.
And they were really extremely hacked off about it, and
Yeah.
he's not the type to forget. So I think he's going to have to die before University of Minnesota ever gets back into contributing again.
Yeah, exactly. But in the meantime, what other universities have kind of bought into that, thinking it's a great senior project, and now open source guys have to go through every patch that was submitted in like 2 years, right?
Yeah.
And try to undo it.
Right. I have no doubt they can. I mean, it's like
it's time consuming.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's man hours that they could use to do other stuff.
Exactly.
I thought it was good that, at least they caught it, I mean, that's why the maintainers look at this stuff before it gets to the kernel. They're like, wait a minute, this don't look right. What the heck?
Well, yeah, I mean, the maintainers should be evaluating every patch anyway and making sure it's bug free.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be just, committing it and blindly.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't imagine an enterprise project discovering something like this. Because it's most enterprise projects I've seen are not managed as well as the Linux kernel.
Right. Yeah, I don't have big enough projects that anyone's going to submit anything to me, pretty much. But I can feel the pain. I really can. It's really a pain in the butt to have to fix this stuff.
Yeah.
And I was a college kid. I was young like that. I get it. But sorry, can I cuss? You assholes. Your professor was going to accept your work, your assignment, and accept it for a senior project. And the whole point of it was to maliciously insert software into certain patches? You've got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a lot of projects I could talk about in meetings. What is there anything on the agenda for next time?
No, actually, we did have Bob Meyer finishing off his presentation from May, but he's got some family stuff to sort out, and so he's not going to be available till August.
Oh my, okay. Well, I always say this, and maybe I'm jumping the gun, but supposing for next time I get Empire running more correctly, and that can serve as an example of BBS Engine and ttyio.
Yeah.
Like real world, yeah. Because some things I've added to ttyio because of Empire.
Yeah.
So, does that sound reasonable?
I'd like to know how the story ends. So yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Well, I did what I could live, and I kind of focus on these things. I can't do it live.
Right. Yeah.
I have a
Okay.
hard time because I'm trying to. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Let's see that next time. And if anybody else has anything they'd like to present, just email me or Jace
Okay.
and
how is his name
we'll
pronounced, by the way? Is it Yas or Jas?
Neither. It's
Either?
Jace.
Okay,
He hates his real name, so I'm not going to say it.
Okay, don't. Yeah, but what I'm thinking is that, like in Europe, like JAS would be pronounced Yas, like a Y.
Right. Yeah. No, it's just Jace.
Okay, Jason as in Jason or whatever, right?
Correct.
Okay. Excellent. Well, I will. I'll put something together in Empire. Now I got a motive. I'm ready to fix this. It was running fine, and I broke stuff.
Yeah, you'll probably find the problem in 5 minutes after you close.
Well, yeah, and I can put together some talking points, and I think tonight went pretty well. Yeah. I don't know if it was long enough. Was it long enough?
Yeah, we usually close about around 8 o'clock, so we're right on time.
Okay, so I can fill up to an hour, basically.
Hour and a half. We start at 6:30, so.
Okay, well, people didn't show up until like 6:45.
I know, because I was stuck in a work thing, but normally I'm here.
Okay.
6:15.
Right on. Okay, I got it. Yeah. Well, only my second meeting. Hands up. Mercy. This is really what I wanted to do, is know my audience a little bit better, and I'm actually happy that I did the ttyio thing. I have that under my belt, and I can build on it now.
Yeah, that's right. So, thank you very much, Jim, for showing us that.
I did my first talk. I think it was my third meeting, and I think it was the biggest meeting turnout in person I'd ever seen. So
no.
It was kind of intimidating. I think it was about 20 people there that night, which was ridiculous.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me.
There's usually like 3 or 4. So
did you have like the stage fright thing? I mean,
a little bit. I'm not real good at public speaking anyway, so it was a little intimidating. But you did good.
Yeah, I'm a little different. I've been singing karaoke for years, so. But I do need to know my material, and I'm a little nervous actually. I was about ready to. If you didn't bring it up, I wasn't going to talk.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I wasn't sure if I was. Well, you know what they say. Maybe you're not ready for prime time, but go for it.
Yeah, that's right.
So.
Well, it's good.
For next time, I will be able to demonstrate Empire.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to that. Thank you for presenting, Jim. And we'll see everybody next time.
All right.
Okay. Sounds great. Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.